right, y'all, we just made it to Vegas. AIM Expo. Lead Helm is in the house.
Welcome to the Lead Helm podcast, where dealer life stories meet thrilling rides, moto passion, and everything in between. From dream rides and iconic guests to the digital evolution of dealerships and future industry trends, we've got the news, success stories, and adventures dealership professionals live for.
Hey everybody, John Green here with Lead Helm. Happy to see you all again, or if you're not viewing, I'm sure you're happy to hear from us all again. As usual, I'm excited to talk about Lead Helm, all things digital, and with particular added excitement, enthusiasm today. This clan here, just came back from Las Vegas for the AIM Expo, right? So annual big Powersports conference in Vegas. So we're really gonna share with you some of what we saw in Vegas. So I've got Scott Fisher with me. I've got Aaron Barney with me. I've got Adam Gelzinis with me. And I think, guys, good morning, first and foremost.
Morning.
We're recording this the day after the Super Bowl. And with travel last week, guys, I'll be honest, I think a couple of us picked up a little bug. Fine, that happens with travel. I didn't even make it to halftime of that Super Bowl yesterday. So I know the final score, right? Good, bad, or otherwise, depending on where you're rooting. But what I'm really curious about is how was Kendrick Lamar? How was halftime show?
I thought it was fantastic, actually. I thought it was really good. It's probably one of the better halftime shows that I've seen. Choreographed. It was sounded really well. Sometimes they sound really shitty, but that one was really good. It was really good.
Scott, do you have a different opinion?
Well, I just don't. It's hard to understand how, in my opinion, how they choose the type of music, which tends to be pretty consistent at Super Bowls. It seems to be in a young demo. Maybe I could be wrong. Young demo. Maybe I'm just old now, and those don't attract me quite as well. But I would tell you, I thought that this year's Super Bowl presentation, the 3 hours prior to the game and the pregame, the direct pregame, I thought it was spectacular this year. I loved how they really showed New Orleans, and Fox was on the street there. The sportscasters were on the street. I thought it was really good, and I didn't have a team in that game, but hats off to the Eagles because they were unbelievable, way more powerful than I had expected. So you always got to give a big hats off to the team that comes ready to win, and they certainly showed that.
They really did. The defense was impressive, but I agree. I watched some of the pregame coverage, so I think they did a good job of kind of capturing the soul of New Orleans, which is a very soulful place. So it was. I thought it was cool. And Aaron, what do you got?
Oh no, I agree with Scott, and I thought the production was really good. I think that it would have been a lot better if my Detroit Lions were in that. But the Eagles, I agree with you, Scott, and Jalen Hurts, man, it's quite a story, and it's a good example of adversity, and it was really, really cool to see them perform that way. So it was good, but I agreed. I was happy to see the halftime show, get the kids to bed, and get some rest. So we're ready for today. And it was helpful to see the score spread there, so I could go to bed thinking, I kind of knew where that was going to go.
Yeah. No, I agree. I saw 24-0. I'm like, all right, I can lay down. I should be fine.
Yeah.
And then normally in years past, many years past, we would sit here and regale one another with our crazy stories from Las Vegas. But I don't know if look, work trips in Vegas are different than social trips in Vegas, right? So there's not a lot to share. We didn't have any crazy late nights at the bars. We didn't really go see any shows at all. It was if I saw 10 o'clock before I went to bed, that was a late night. Because those are full days, right? You're grinding the floor and in between working the booth and trying to get out and meet people and see some of the cool stuff that's going on. I did find it interesting. I had several engagements with taxi drivers over there, and they're all moaning about how slow it is, right? Particularly, they're like, look, the lead up to the Super Bowl should be really busy here, and it was quiet. So they're trying to sort out, is it the economy, just the cost of things, right, in Vegas, right, from a food and hotel room and air travel standpoint is beyond the reach of some. So I'm not sure what's happened, but I had a particularly troubled driver on the way to the airport on Saturday morning, and she's been there for a long time, and she's like, what she said was interesting. They raised the price over the last 4 years. They raised the price of mid to upper tier dining on the Strip by 30%.
Ooh.
And she said, so what's happening now, you see downtown is actually picking up some of that stuff because they didn't make that shift. And she's like, I think we're just pricing ourselves out. The business market still can come here for conventions and so forth, but the regular, people going on vacation or something, she said that's where it's starting to take a hit. But interesting, we work in a want-based product environment, right? Vegas is not a necessity for anybody. Vegas is a want-based destination. Like the products that we represent and the dealers that we work with, that's want-based. So we still have a little bit of economic, I think, headwind that we're going to face right now. But anyway, let's get beyond that stuff. I think my one takeaway, and I'm gonna get some insights from you guys. The one thing that's great about shows like that, and this one was the same way, right? For those of us who've been in this business for some time, right? Scott, you're 40 years. I'm 25 years. Aaron, 20 years. Adam, years, however many. When you go to these things, it's a look back and it's a look forward at the same time, right? Because you're seeing people that you've known for 25 years. And you're kind of talking about, remember back in the day and some of those things. And at the same time, you're seeing new faces, right? The changing of the guard at some of the leadership levels in some of these dealerships, and new technology and new products. So it's a little bit back and forth at that point. But I had fun. I had fun in both those environments. So I'm curious to see what you guys. So Scott, I'm going to start with you. You had a bit more flexibility, and I think you probably got to see a little more of the floor. And what were your overall thoughts on the event, or any big insights or takeaway for you?
Well, I think first of all, I started my journey in the non-Harley Davidson world, and that passion's never left me, even though we became a Harley Davidson company, and we really put our focus in the Harley Davidson business after many different time frames over the 40 years. So I was very excited to walk around the show floor and see all the different brands. And for anybody out there who hasn't spent time looking at the other brands than Harley, there's just so much to see, and it's just come such a long ways, and the diversity has gotten greater and greater. And a lot of the old products of the past are back, meaning the little bikes that Honda has and other brands have, they've retroed bikes back. Dirt bikes are clearly a big focus again. So I really enjoyed that aspect of going to the show, and it created it really reminded me so much of what Harley has always had for so many years, and they don't have it now. Their dealer show was such an inspirational time frame to go to, and so I got to walk around that showroom floor when there's no Harley Davidsons there. And I was so inspired by all the products and so interested in all the products. And that made me reflect on how strong Harley's dealer shows were, and they don't have them any longer. And I questioned, how could they not have it? But really beyond the excitement of the product, I spent a lot of time at the education seminars. I really wanted to see what would they be talking about. And first of all, obviously the AIM is not an education expo or show, but I really think education is something that's really needed. And I don't think that they had really good. They didn't set the show up great for education. It was hard to hear. They didn't bring a lot of people together for the education seminars. So I think that they could do a better job with that. Or I think that AIM or somebody in the industry could have a better education program specifically designed for education. But I really was surprised at how the technology of the products has moved so dramatically, but the education, what I heard, was what I heard 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I mean, there was still discussion around traffic law. There was still discussion around really kind of very basic stuff. And, we're in this technology lead management business. And what I really found interesting was companies that I approached to just understand what they did, was interested in our product, was interested in Lead Helm's product. The technology sector that AIM had, where our booth was at. I was really surprised at how much engagement there was between all of those vendors. Everyone's trying to accomplish, to move forward a service product, a movement in the power sports industry that's really needed. Customers are starting their journeys online. They're using technology to begin that journey. And all these companies are there wanting to be a part of that. So the challenge that we've seen, moving our product to the power sports, getting power sport dealers to accept it, everyone else has that same issue. So that was my kind of overall takeaway about our product and about the show is that there's a lot of people like us in the business trying to move into to enter the power sports business, and there's a lack of education in the power sports world about the technology and the purpose for technology to engage their customers at a greater level, faster level, to move product quicker. We know that our customers are beginning their journey online now. When someone sees a hot new product, I mean, just like myself, I see a new Porsche or a new design Porsche, I go right online and look at that product. I'm starting a possible journey of buying a new car right then. And that's what our customers are doing. And, I don't think our dealer base is at the same level. And that was my takeaway from it. All the education that I seen, there was very little discussion around digital. And I'm just shocked by that because I'm at the heart and soul, a sales guy in the power sports industry, the motorsports industry. I know that you have to sell product to make things happen. You can do a great job throughout the whole dealership, but if you don't sell motorcycles or power sports, you're going to have a tough time making payroll. And digital and the whole digital process is, I think, maybe the biggest tool that our dealers have today, and they're not equipped properly to use it. So,
well, I think I'm gonna let Aaron and Adam chime in on a few of those things. A lot of highlights and points there, Scott. But I think on that final one, I think it's not that there's a lack of digital focused technology, right? There's a lot of things that you can do. And if you went through that tech space, there's a lot of things there, from lead generation and capture and drip campaigns and so forth, to try to capture that stuff. But there's not the supporting level of education around how do I actually take this new technology and this new product. That's all great. Get the new tech, get the new product. But if you don't change how you operate, none of that stuff's really going to matter, right? So how do we actually operationalize and pull in this technology and some of these resources and services to actually do a better job at meeting the customer where they want to be met? So I would agree with you on that. I had a couple of the same things, right? I think the a lot of dirt bike product, a lot of electric dirt bike product. Amazing. And I think we had an interesting discussion with a couple of the two Bobs, Altoff and Key from NPDA on that. I said, guys, where do you think this is going? And their belief is it might be a really great opportunity to bring youth into the sport, right? At a lower price point. And again, you can move these things around in the back of an SUV, some of the little peewee ones. You don't have to worry about oil. You don't have to worry about gas, right? Aaron, we talked about that. You and your son, right? You and Max need a couple of those things. I'm not sure what Mama said, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I was sending my wife, pictures of some of this product, and a lot of, I have an 8-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, and you get excited looking at some of those electric mini bikes and getting some kids out there. I agree with what you said, Scott. You could see that a lot of opportunity to get new young riders in this industry from some of the products that we saw. I think it was awesome.
Adam, what about you? What'd you see? Right, we all have different lenses, and you were probably at the booth as much as anybody. So I'm not sure how much you actually got to go see, but you certainly talked to a lot of dealers. I know that.
Certainly talked to a lot of dealers, but I did get to see the floor. I thought it was great. I thought it was one of the bigger setups that I've seen at AIM, which was awesome. A lot of OEMs, a lot of product, parts, accessories, things like that, which was really cool. I think, summing up what you guys just said is very important, right? There's still a big need for the educational side and just the purpose of why that educational side is important, right? Like you can know all about these things and we could have all of these lead sources. We could have all of these lead gen things. But how you use them is the critical point. You just made that point, John, right? Like that, how you apply it to your day to day is the biggest factor. And then going back to what Scott said, you're educating guys on stuff that was educated on in 1983. Well, why aren't we educating guys on what's going on in 2025? Right? That's the thing that should be happening. What's the progressive way to really move the needle in the right direction? And so what a lot of things I heard was still kind of spinning in that sense. One of the biggest takeaways was we need more leads, we need more lead sources, right? Well, why are you going to add more lead sources if you're not really focused on the lead sources that you have and converting those at the highest rate possible? Was a big turning point. But also understanding of where those leads come from and how you follow up with those leads was a critical part to what I heard, right? People were really saying, they were almost dumbfounded when I would ask, well, how was your follow-up on those leads? We touch them 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, we got to touch people a little bit more than that, right? Someone may not respond that third time even. You got to touch them 7 to 10 times. And these active dealers that really have that full process in play right now, they're capitalizing on these leads and converting at the rate that they need to. However, we still have a lot of guys out there that really don't understand. These are people, and I think Fran said it, right? I believe it was Fran. He was like, you're locking people in your store if you're not responding to them by the end of the day. So it's like, why would you not want to learn or capitalize on working those leads as fast as possible? And then I think the kicker to that would really be AI. A lot of people want AI to respond to a lot of these leads for them, which is really interesting because, AI has a place. I don't doubt that one bit. but I don't believe it's fully ready yet. I don't believe that it's going to fully engage in a conversation with someone when they have specific questions on what needs to be said. And I feel that human to human connection is really something that's necessary, that we really need to focus on still in this day, right? People are, like Scott said, it's you have so many people starting a journey on buying something, and you're well educated in that product, but eventually you're going to want to talk to someone and ask some serious questions. And then those people responding to the questions need to also ask questions to really nurture that lead in the right direction, and how to embrace, put your arms around them and get why they're interested in that, to really get them in the door on a more qualified level, right? Because then they're ready to buy. So I think a lot of what I heard was just a lack of understanding, and maybe just a more need to really wrap your arms around digital is here. It's been here for the last 5 years, if not longer, of people really wanting that engagement. And just how you're doing or following through with that process is critically important to your bottom line. Hands down.
I think I have two quick comments on there. Some of the stuff from 1983 still has to be done.
Absolutely.
Right. I think those are the things, right? And I think some of the reason why some of the education that gets put out there is the same as what it was 20 years ago is because it still works, right? But that's some things about basic sales process and follow-up and having a traffic log and an open to buy. Some of those are tried and true best practices, and kudos to the educators that continue to drive that home, because for most dealers, that would be a big step to get that stuff in and executed on a daily basis. Yes. Now I think we've got an overlay that's coming on top, which really is the digital component of the business that didn't exist 10 years ago to the extent that it does now. And so there's that side. And with AI, right, I'll let Aaron chime in on this if he wants to here in a second, but we went to a really cool presentation. The one that I got to go to was Fran O'Hagan from Pied Piper and his son, Eric. His son, Eric, is all over AI and machine learning and so forth, and did a bunch of work at Tesla and so forth. So really, really sharp. But they did a presentation that made it so approachable for a dealer to say, look, what can you do right now today as a dealer that's free with AI? And it wasn't automating your follow-up. It had nothing to do with Pied Piper and internet shopping and stuff. It was really practical things that you could do. So that part was really cool, right? It's like you're getting the smartest, most well-read assistant in the world, and you can ask them any question at any point in time, and they'll do amazing things for you. That was interesting. But on your point about the human component, right? AI is going to become a bigger piece of the sales process with digital. I agree with that. It will never, in my opinion, completely take over the need for human to human, right? Because we're experiential people, right? At some point, I want to actually talk to somebody, and I want to go into a dealership, and I want to sit on the product. I want to sit in it. I want to touch it. I want to feel it. I want to try the stuff on. We are that way. So how do we do for dealers? How do we do a better job of bridging that gap, right? Let's connect with them online, create a relationship, bring some emotion into that discussion so they're excited to come into the showroom, and then we really get to wow them once they get there. But that battle to get the customer in your store is fought online. And we unfortunately have too many dealers not equipped for that battle right now. I agree with that.
Yep.
Aaron, how about a few thoughts from you, buddy?
Well, I agree with all you guys. I think probably one of the key things I saw was optimism for 2025. We saw a lot of excitement. I think from, just across the industry, both from vendors, and dealers. I think everybody's optimistic about a strong year ahead. I think there's some glaring challenges, and then, there's some opportunities that, dealers and everybody that supports the industry have in front of them. But yeah, I agree with a lot of comments around that back to basics. I started in this industry in 2002. So, 23 years or so. And I think a key thing is the importance that dealers that are great, if they're not, they need to be. And that's about foundational success. And you said it, John, some of the things back in the 80s that were most important then. It's hard to build on things if you don't have a foundation to build off of. So I think we all know what they are. It's people, it's process, and it's product. And those three things, when there's a foundation there, those things, it's great. So I think those fundamentals right now really do matter, more than ever. I think there's reasons why, and we can continue to say as an industry that COVID came and it changed the culture of the way we work and this and that. I don't argue that, but I think we are moving ahead, right? We are moving down the open road, and we gotta make sure that we're doing those basics. But I just hats off to everyone that really was supporting the AIM Expo.
Yeah. So Scott, Aaron had a little technical there, but you wanted to come back around something that Adam said.
Well, all of us said here in this discussion that Adam talked about how there's so many resources in the tech center that are available to dealers, and you talked about how many of the things that we were training many years ago is still relevant today. And one of the things that I really took away from the event this year, which kudos to Sam Dantzler, because in watching his seminar, he was going through the dealership's performance, department by department, talking about the key things that need to be done, department by department. And when he got to the end of it, he said, "Now, does anyone understand the number on the board, which was a 63? And raise your hand if you understand what 63 means." And of course, nobody did. And then he, of course, shared with the group, 63 is the grade card that you got when you're in school, and that was a D. Yeah. And you never wanted to get a D. It means you had a lot of improvement to get. And his point is that so many dealers right now are hovering around that D category. And sometimes the D category, you can maybe meet cash flow needs, or maybe you can break even or whatever, but you're not excelling, you're not performing. And technology, besides those key processes and systems that are in each department, technology just in general has helped us use those processes because we're not doing them by hand any longer. I mean, we used to do a traffic log by hand, and we evaluated and did all the metrics from the traffic log by hand. But now technology helps us do those things. But the one key item that is new and is impacting every part of the dealership is digital technology marketing is impacting every department in the store.
Yes.
Including the service department, including the parts department, including customer follow-up, including even HR. Technology is giving us the ability to do that stuff. And I think that's where the industry right now is lacking so much, is that it's not embracing the technology that's available to move itself beyond that 63. I mean, it's a big jump to move it. If you just move to 75 or 80, it's a big difference in business. So hats off to Sam Dantzler for him sharing that. I thought it was really good. And I think dealers need to take that with a grain of salt and say, am I a 63? Am I a 70? Education is so important right now. And I just say this because, as we all know, part of the process with Lead Helm and our communication with dealers and our work with our customers is a great deal of education and coaching that we do with them. That we provide that, because we come from the industry. We're not technology people coming in trying to get a part of the power sports industry. We come from the industry. We understand what needs to happen. And so we see when dealers are challenged inside their dealership in other areas besides just their lead management.
Well, I think, Scott, what our job at Lead Helm is to help dealers leverage all the great technology that's out there, right? And we can talk more about that. But back to Sam for a minute. I think for the listeners and the viewers that may not know Sam and Garage Composites, Sam's 63 is not just an opinion that Sam would have, right? He's using that based on composite data and so forth. So I just want to make sure that you're not sitting there going to start, throwing stones at Sam because he said all dealers are a D. He's looking at data, objective information, saying if this is 100 and we're performing right here. So the good news is there's a lot of headroom there. And even better news is there's educators and there's product and there's resource available to help you bridge that gap a little bit. And it's the same as it always has been, and it probably always will be in this industry and in most others. There are always challenges and there are always opportunity, but the key is execution of process and strategy and leveraging what's available to you. It's no different right now. I think that the education piece, I'm gonna say this, and I think a lot of dealers would agree that I do believe there is a place in power sports for an event that is largely, if not exclusively, focused on education. Right? We have this AIM is a great trade event. It's a product event. We get to see all the cool stuff, and there's a bit of an education component. But if a lot of what our conversation is right now is it's not just the availability of new stuff, but it's the understanding of how to utilize the new stuff, then we need to have an education group. I know the NPDA is working hard on that. They launched a Connect event. They want to continue to build that, but I would fully support that going forward, an education show. I know they do it in NADA, does a great job. Marine does it through MRA, a great job. I think there's a space here and a need inside power sports to do that. And Harley as well, right? Because they're, as you mentioned earlier, Scott, those shows have largely gone by the wayside. You got the daily recap of the event that you could look at. And for those of us that didn't get to go to a lot of the seminars, it was actually a really nice thing that AIM did, because you go in there and see what the topics were and so forth. And a couple of them I found of interest, right? A big discussion on how do we get younger people involved. We talked a little bit about that with smaller vehicles, with electric bikes and so forth, and some discussion on what else can the OEMs potentially do to drive interest at the youth level. But there's also a dealer that said, hey, it's not just the OEM's job, right? What do we do as dealers to foster a sense of community and welcome in families and so forth, and try to start them at a young level? So I thought that was an interesting piece. And then there was some economic discussion, and I had an opportunity to see an economist speak a couple of weeks ago up in Charlotte. And in general, the economy is strong, in good footing. They're projecting, at least the gentleman at AIM was projecting 2% growth in power sports this year, and 2% in volume, 2% in revenue, 2% in net, 2% in unit sales. I'm not quite sure, but I think one of the challenges to dealers is, do you have a plan to get 2% more net profit or 2% more top line growth? Because it's not just going to come to you. It's not just going to all of a sudden, because an economist said you're going to be up 2%, boom, you're up 2%, right? We have to have a plan, and we got to go work that plan. So
yeah, John, I think what your comment there is, it's so true, right? And we were talking a lot about back to basics, and I think, okay, so some foundational success that you're having, but you guys have all heard me say it. We can't continue to do business the same way we always have. Customers will change who they do business with, and we're talking about digital and where customers start first. And I think dealers, Scott, I think you said it, especially in our tech talks area, dealers probably have more resources than they've ever had before. There's so many resources there that we know most of them, but it's about how do you leverage them effectively. So I think I agree with you guys. Training, clear understanding of what products are out there and how you leverage them is going to be really, really important to get that 2%, John.
And 2%, again, 2% at any level is good, but a 2% plus on bottom line net is substantial for some. For some, that's going from red to black. And we'd always obviously rather operate in the black. So guys, any final thoughts? I have one final one, and then I'll kind of put a bow on this. But any words of wisdom for dealers out there, or any crystal ball thoughts on how 25 is going to lay out, or just anything you want to say?
I just think if you're wanting to convert more of your leads into potential buyers, talk to us because we're here to help you.
Boom. Done.
Yeah, I would say
yes
on that, Adam, for sure. I definitely would say that if you are a sales manager, general manager, think about coming to this next year, because there was a lot of sales resources there. I think a lot of dealers may think that this is more of a fixed ops, right? We're going to look at product. We're probably going to make some orders and things like that. And I think just great dealer participation, and hats off to everyone that supported the setup and the execution of it. The Tech Talks area, I think, was helpful for all. And I think that'll be exciting to be continue to participate in. But I think, there's a lot of sales, right, Scott? I mean, there's a lot of sales opportunities for sales, generating activity there. And so, if you're a dealer and you're listening, just know that it's a great opportunity if you can make it next year to continue to learn about these resources, and how to leverage them. So it was good.
Very good.
Scott, any final thoughts?
I think just as it relates to lead helm, I've always been really, really brutal about the traffic log in the sales department. I believe that if you're going to sell 100 units, divide it by your delivery percentage, and it'll tell you how many salespeople, how many customers you need, and that would tell you how many salespeople that you need. And I can't imagine, when I look back on how many traffic logs we had when we had many stores, what it would have done for us to had this digital technology as another traffic log. We were always trying to figure out how to get customers, how to find customers. And so you spent money on the radio, TV, direct mail. You spent all this big money there, and you couldn't contact people directly. But in this digital world, the ability to drive customer traffic and good traffic is clearly in that area. And I know that dealers know that they got to have a website, and they got to advertise, but they're still not yet connected on what to do with that traffic. And Adam said it earlier. You don't need to spend more money in your digital marketing. You need to do more with the marketing that you have. You need to do more with the customers that are coming in there. Let's get that business first, and then we can spend money and build further marketing budgets for digital.
Yep. Well, I think that applies everywhere, Scott. We used to say that, right? If your sales department's broken, why spend more money on advertising to drive more traffic into a broken machine? Same thing on digital, right? So look, there was great product there. There's great product from the OEMs. It continues to be amazing with what the product is capable of, the breadth and the creativity of what's being produced. So that's tremendous, right? We have a full cupboard from which to sell. So that's awesome. There is technology. There is training out there. There is this tremendous sense of community of what Powersports is. And part of the enjoyment of going to those things is to be put back in that environment with people that are like-minded, and they're enthusiasts there. And we're all about how do we build and continue to sustain and grow this industry that's been a part of our lives for so long. So that part is thrilling. And look, we're just here to help. That's it. We've been dealers. We still are dealers. We've got a cool product and a service that's available to help you sell more with what you already have. Happy to help. Love to just talk to you about your thoughts. If you're at AIM, reach out to us. Love to compare some notes on that. But a lot of opportunity, enthusiasm, and excitement, particularly here from Team Lead Helm. So,
yeah,
gentlemen, I thank you very much. Great discussion. Listeners, watchers, tune in. Go to leadhelm.com. You can see all the podcasts. You can see all our webinars, a bunch of free resources. And again, if you want to sell more, just give us a call. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Bye-bye.